So here we are, we're driving down the highway after a pretty crappy day yesterday. It was Super Bowl Sunday yesterday, and the game didn't really have much of a bearing on anything to me. I didn't really care one way or the other, and it wound up being a decent game, I guess, so whatever. But, and I haven't done a video in a while with any ranting. I've done stupid little things, but anything of substance. So I decided while I'm headed down to do a job in Portland that I would rant. And my rant is about, I kicked my on-again, off-again significant other to the curb yesterday. And I know some people say, oh, you're dirty laundry, you shouldn't do that. And it's, I wouldn't do it if I was in a relationship. I would never have a fight with somebody while in a relationship and be like, oh yeah, I had an argument with my girlfriend last night and this is what it was about. The relationship, or whatever you want to call it, is done. Because it crossed a line of stupidity that even I couldn't absorb. And I mean, that's the one thing I can't get past. People's personal politics or whatever. I've had relationships with women that were 180 degrees from me. And that's fine because people are brought up that way. Their political thinking is not just common. Political thinking isn't common sense necessarily. Mine is, but it can come from a whole host of things: upbringing, life circumstances, how they were taught in their household, you know, whatever. That stuff can be ingrained in you at such a young age. But stupidity you can. And what happened yesterday crossed a line of stupidity that it's the thing where somebody does something that you just cannot fathom that they would not realize that would be insulting and piss you off in advance, that they could not look at the situation. And the situation was this: the girl here was trying to hang a shelf, and we're at a hardware store, and she had asked me about just the screws to hold the shelf up. That's all what this was about. And was agonizing over the length of screw, or should it be a nail, or should it be just over analyzing the most dumb thing that we could possibly be talking about on a Sunday afternoon while I'm trying to get my ass to a Super Bowl game, so to watch the game. And it's just like, get a screw long enough and whale it in the wall and you're done, you know. I mean, I build things. She knows this. So we're not talking about asking advice from me on something that I wasn't, educated on. She knew that I had a full working knowledge of the subject matter, building. I built decks, I built houses, my brother built houses, my father was a carpenter. I built video games, I finished off my basement bar. I finished off some downstairs in my house. I finished off my garage and put an office in it. I've hung sheetrock, I've done roofing, I've done plumbing. It's to ask somebody something that they're fully knowledgeable in, and then you don't take that advice, which is what happened here, because you questioned it, not knowing anything yourself, and then deferred to someone else. That's a mistake. So what happened is she agonized over the length of a screw. Well, she's attaching a 2x4 that she's going to put hooks into a wall, which is got to go through the 2x4, the sheetrock, and into a stud in the wall. Okay, 3.5 to 4 inches long screw. Stick it in there and be done with it. Whether it's 3.5, 4 inches long, doesn't matter. And she was agonizing over the length of it. And look, if it helps you sleep at night, put the longer screw in, so it goes into more meat. Doesn't matter. It's whatever. You're driving it into a 2x4, so it goes in a little harder. It holds the rack up a little better, whatever. So I give her this advice. She agonizes over it, and in her infinite wisdom decides that I don't know enough about the subject, and goes to the orange smocks to ask their advice. So she goes and gets 2 guys and asks them all about it, and goes into this big spiel about her shelf and the thickness of the wall and what should she do. And then they get their little tape measures out, and they're thinking, well, it should be probably this long, and well, you gotta have this and that, and it just over-engineered the most bullshit, stupid thing. And my analogy to her was like, look, it would be like me. She works as a lunch lady at a school. She cooks thousands of meals a year. It would be like me buying a box of brownie mix, coming home and agonizing over, do you put the egg in with the water first and then pour the powder, or should I mix the powder in the water and then add the egg, what do I do? And then asking her opinion and having her tell me, just do it, it doesn't matter. And then me going, nah, that doesn't sound right, I think I'll call my mom and ask her. She'd be like, what the fuck, Jack? I cook millions of meals a day and you're asking me how to make fucking brownie mix and you don't trust me on how I know to do that? That's me. You're not trusting me, who has built more damn shit in my life than you can imagine, to give you proper advice on how to hang a shelf. And when you reject that advice and go to some other guys because maybe they know better than I, you don't see that in any way is going to piss me off, hurt my feelings, and just totally see you in a negative way. That kind of stupidity, I cannot fathom that. I cannot fathom people realizing that they're about to kick a sleeping dog, and when the dog bites them, they're up in arms and aghast over that. What happened? I can't deal with that. That's when it's game over for me at that point. There are things I give a pass on, and there are things that I can't get beyond. And if you don't trust me to hang a shelf, what other advice, what is there to me that you feel that there's any confidence in? I mean, beyond male ego and pride, we're talking about, this would split off in all kinds of tangents. This could be, I could over-engineer this into, what, you don't trust me as a person, you don't believe it, what do you think, I'm stupid? I mean, I could go a million ways with it, but the bottom line for me is, you didn't realize that this would piss you off. And she asked me another question afterwards, what started, what ended things, was she asked me, well, how many screws do you think I should use? And I go, I'm not an expert on this, go ask those guys. And she was just, where did that come from? Well, you just asked me my advice and you rejected it. Now you're asking me for more advice. Now you're being doubly stupid. To even ask me another question at that point was walking on thin ice. That's just idiocy. And that's where the big boot comes in. That's when you're out the door. You can't deal with that. I had married that person back in the early 90s. I was married to a woman that her uncle Irvin was the end-all, know-all of knowledge. I mean, he was the oracle of knowledge. And she would ask me something and always defer to Irvin. She never took my advice. She had to go to this guy. And because her uncle just knew everything. Well, I want to fix this faucet. Well, I'm just going to have Irvin look at it. Our faucet? Why? I can fix this. This is what I do this stuff. But I did that. I was married to that. I played that video game. I read that book. I've seen that movie. I did that job. I ate that cake. I've been there. I didn't like it. And it resurfaced yesterday. And I was a lot shorter on it. It was pretty much a one strike and done deal with that. But weigh in on this if you would. I'm curious to see, would it piss you off? Or have you ever been pissed off by someone who asked your advice on something, knowing that you knew that you were knowledgeable in the subject? I'm not saying, if I hadn't been knowledgeable in it and I gave her my advice and she was like, yeah, maybe I better ask him, that's fine. But don't ask a carpenter how to hang a shelf, and when you don't take his advice on it, or you don't think he knew enough to do that, and don't expect that you're not gonna piss the guy off. That's the kind of stupid you just don't fix. Let's hear it. Thoughts about it. Am I overreacting? Fuck no, I'm not overreacting. Don't even go there. But I'm just curious if anybody's ever pissed you off asking you advice and then not taking that advice. Let's hear it.